No Man's Sky, that chill-out space game you've either played or heard about. A game that used to be about looking at things and not really doing a whole lot, but a whole bunch of updates have changed this quite a lot. Up until recently, it was more about chilling out, looking at sweeping vistas, eye-catching landscapes. But what if I told you can kidnap and displace people? Now what if I told you can also do that in No Man's Sky?
Yeah, boy.
What are you doing? Where are you taking me?
Please do not resist.
Get inside the van!
It used to be you'd find a place you'd like, you'd dip your toes in the water and see what kind of alien fish creatures would suckle on them. You'd maybe gaze longingly at the horizon and dream of what wondrous or terrifying creatures await you beyond. A few updates ago they added the ability to feed and tame animal companions as small and gentle as a butterfly, or large and ferocious as a dinosaur. I, however, stumbled upon a planet home to primitive humanoid life. Who knows what kind of advanced civilizations might blossom from these potentially intelligent individuals. I of course slapped a collar on one, and I rather enjoy rocketing away as fast as I can, while my little slave alien would scurry after me, suffering the onset of crippling separation anxiety as its god rapidly moves away from it on the hostile alien world it arrived on using technologies its little imagination cannot possibly fathom. Sometimes it would stand there, tense its entire body, shit, look up at me with uncertainty, fear. And I can't help but think about the parallels with modern human society. Perhaps the most amazing part of this game is No Man's Sky has modeled human progression. You can also go digging up old fossils for bones, collect the bones, and display the bones. The Bones update. Take your friends down to Bone Town. And that's really all No Man's Sky used to be. Until now. With the advent of shipbuilding, we're finally seeing what everyone has always wanted in no sandbox space game. Elite Dangerous doesn't have ship interiors. Starfield has ship interiors, but we know how everyone feels about that game. And Star Citizen has them, but I'm not really well versed in the pyramid scheme genre of games, to be honest with you. No Man's Sky enjoyers are not strangers to big updates like this. Base building, animal taming, ocean planets, they've you name it, they've probably had it. Chlamydia, and now there's this Voyagers update, the ship interiors expansion, but let's call it what it is. I'm considering this the abduction update. Now, you can't just abduct anyone in your usual custom Corvette fit with all the things you like in a vehicle. No, that won't do. We must simply construct something worthy of the people's ire. Something to both terrify them and command their respect. Something eye-catching yet subdued. As such, I start to unlock the recipes necessary for the erection of my fuel-efficient yet unassuming vessel for forcefully relocating individuals against their will. I call this one the legally registered van. Now, you might be thinking, but best guest, how did you construct such a monument without the game telling you that you haven't fitted the necessary landing gears, power generators, and weapons? Shouldn't this be a legally unregistered van? No, because I'm going to show you how you can circumvent these checks and build whatever you want, you beautiful little idiot. If you construct a ship with all the components needed for the game to pass it for legality, it doesn't matter what it looks like, it'll look terrible. Then you finalize your design. You then simply run over to the next landing pad and construct a new Corvette. Swing your camera around to the one that you just made and start deleting the components you want your game to think the van has. This works because the game has the attention span of an amoeba and is no longer checking your old Corvette for legality, only your new one. You'll end up with a ship that has no launch thrusters but still flies and is totally legal. No blasters but still blasts. No shield generator but still shielded. Or something, I don't know the science, but it works. This is how we end up with this beast right here. The bottom floor is a lure for the various fish that partake of the nip-nip. The Gek Green, the Devil's Lettuce, the Nip Lettuce, Green Supreme, Nip Nom, Gek Skunk, Devil's Spunk, Space Cake, Cake Bake, Baker's Delight, Sticky Stash, Gek Rash, Nip Rash, Rash Rash, Skin Infection, Purple Haze, Green Rays, Golden Gay Times, and my favorite, Beef Reefer for extra protein. The top floor is just this comfortable recording studio and my, honestly, just cozy private quarters. You know, there's this chair in the corner for anyone who wishes to sit down in this room that has professional lighting. It might be your thing. I don't know. There's no particular reason for this lighting, it's nice to have. Speaking of things I might have, I have the strength of 100 gorillas. The registration is quite clearly displayed on the side of the vehicle with some tasteful decals, and for those of you who are builders, these are elevation drawings of this blob creature. Front view, side view, and top view. It has a mouth on the top of its head. Anyway, the point of making this van so flash is say I'm having a hard time kidnapping people unawares. Those who are still awares, the curiosity piqued, might walk in of their own volition, not knowing of the dangers that lurk beneath its fun factor. Kind of like an early 90s candy van, you never know what you're gonna get. The plan is that once we have our payload inside the van, suitably trapped against the will, or unknowingly agreeing to go somewhere, I will take them to my specially built quaint, if not cozy underground log cabin, surrounded by toxic harmful flora on this world that is affectionately described as rotting by the game engine. It's comfy, it's rustic, and I'll be renting it out for $900 a week to the first person who can send me their entire rental history, bank account details including recent expenditures, psych evaluation, dating history, the last 38 meals you prepared, fingerprints and other biometric information as is standard in the modern 2025 rental market housing crisis. You beautiful little empty-headed money cow freak. I'm going to take everything you have, and with a bit of luck, everything your children have as well. This is a council-approved dwelling. Within the cabin we have something to surprise my would-be guests. It may not be Bone Town, but I have an extensive fossil collection in the basement. Nothing nefarious at all. Now as for kidnapping people, it's quite easy. You see, you trade an item with people at the anomaly, and then if you have the personal shield generator equipped, you can drag them along the ground. This is a fairly long-standing feature, and with the advent of ship interiors, the idea is to get people who are AFK unknowing of the dangers of how they have gifted me their fragile little lives pinched between my thumb and index fingers, like the wings of a butterfly, so dusty, small, away from their keyboard. And then I can drag them into my van, a fate preferable to the CIA Award for Excellence in Journalism, but I'll make them disappear nonetheless. Unfortunately, I tried to kidnap someone who was not AFK. I'm just gonna point and tell him to get in the van. Wow. Get in the van. I'm just gonna keep pointing. Get in the van. It's yours? Just dragging this guy. Congrats. Okay, so I'll give it another go with someone who is AFK. Except for when they just phase through the loading ramp. Now, there could be a good reason for this. It's not this one, but the reason is basically where my Corvette is parked, someone else is parked first, and as such, that Corvette is rendered in for this person. Which also means that from Chowie's perspective, I was just pointing at some random other person's ship, and those congrats were not even earned. Even my low points stoop lower. Not to worry, I have relocated yet another innocent unawares. I am jubilant. Aww. Alas, this one is returned from AFK, and survives a trip to my council-approved dwelling. Having witnessed the attempted abduction, this fellow decides to go AFK in my presence. It is his turn to receive an item and a short trip to the van. Aww. Unfortunately, they too return from their voyage. I point into the van, appealing to the sense of humanity. Perhaps they will find this little green frog thing compelling. It's a hit. Mission success. Congratulations. You have abducted yourself. I take off from the anomaly, and the van flies at warp speed to the system in which my council-approved dwelling awaits. Unfortunately, on arrival, my victim is nowhere to be seen. He is drifting in space quite some distance away. As I arrive to re-abduct him, he flies away, never to be seen again. But if nothing else, this shows that it can be done. That if I cannot drag them into the van, they might still be curious enough to enter of their own free will. Another target seated at the Nexus, believing themselves to be safe, comfortable within the anomaly. A gift for thee is a gift for me. In this world, it's milk or be milked. The little teal frog with the eyes drags you away. This time, a success, and up the ramp they go. Out of the anomaly and into council-approved dwelling space once again. We rocket towards the swamp where we might lock our quarry into our underground hut's basement, much to our amusement. But a problem. Once again, our friend is nowhere to be seen. Not in our ship, not outside the ship, not in the slam pad with that inconspicuous chair placed in the corner of the room, but off-planet according to our scanner, not too dissimilar to what had happened to our other friend who had flown away.
Now I think I know what's happening, but I can't be sure. And no, it has nothing to do with the fact that it's indeed I who is being milked. Basically, outside of this being a huge desync issue, it's possible that my SSD, much like my Nip produce, is way too potent. And when I load into a system, my ship keeps moving forward, whereas my passengers are being left behind as they haven't loaded in yet. And as a countermeasure to being being loaded in the void of space, the game puts them in their ship, and then when they, load in, they can fly away. Unfortunately for me, this means they can escape. In other words, Hello Games has some work to do because the abduction update isn't working to my standards. However, I don't give up. In this world, you're either bada bing or you get bada boomed.
I am emboldened by watching how this player, still AFK in his own ship, is obliterated by a select group of pirates. A rarity not typically enjoyed in games such as No Man's Sky. While we didn't get to lock him in a basement dungeon in my underground council-approved dwelling, we still witnessed magic, only a different flavor of magic. Another victim, but this one appears to slide underneath our cargo ramp and disappears into the roof. Another victim, but this one returns from being AFK, appealing to the better sense of adventure, or rather, the lack of self-preservation. I goad these two into the van by gesturing lazily into the back of it. We shoot through time-space at a moderate suburban 60 kilometers per hour. I hit the brakes the very second I load in. I check that my guests are still on board. They are. Happy Frog. Council-approved dwelling. And they're gone. Now, I'm not so sure what else can be done here other than to just keep being bada-boomed until it's bada-bing again. To keep trying. It is clear to me that the Voyagers' kidnapping features are still being ironed out. I'm sure Sean Murray and crew are hard at work making sure this happens, and not digging up ancient fossils and deliberately taking me down to Bone Town. All I can do is keep trying until the netcode gods decide to feel more forgiving, or perhaps less wrathful of my playstyle. After all, I am nice. I try again. Victim A, the state of Texas. Not AFK. I tell him to not resist, but he resists anyway. Player agency has gone too far. The people are too powerful. Victim B. Ridley Scott's mistake. It seems my van hasn't rendered in on their end. They're no longer AFK. I attempt to instill fear, but what good is fear if I cannot even get them into my ship? If it's not even there? Victim C. Luke. Not AFK. I attempt to instill fear again, and it appears to be working. Luke rather submissively allows a powerful man to drag him to the van. Alas, it is not rendered in for him, and this act deletes him from this universe. Where'd he go? Did I send him to the recycle bin? Did I uninstall Lucas? What is happening? One more attempt, I say to myself, somberly, sitting in my dark computer room, having only obliterated one individual by accident. Dejected, I rename my Steam account, Get in the Van. This changes my in-game name accordingly, and I'm not sure if this adds anything to the plan or if it helps my persuasiveness or if it's just cope, but I try one more time regardless. This person standing rather confidently, their ship not rendered in for reasons unknown to me. I drag Jason to my van like a side of beef, and something happens in the background. Could it be that this individual is kindly handing out hugs? Look upon what wrath your charity has brought. Up the ramp. It is working. In this world, it's Hello Games, or experience goodbye pains. Every kidnapping, procedural. I gloat. I set the course to warp. But what's that? Jason was not AFK this whole time. Jason was, in fact, AK, and allowed me to drag him in. Is it true that I could be so pathetic that pity for me has become my greatest strength? Unfortunately, they are no longer in the van, so I try to leverage said pity. Weaponize it. I am but a hugless green frog, and I need my hug. In the van, specifically. The plan works. He gets in the van. And I didn't even need a hug. He fell for one of the classic blunders. The pity they feel for me, the green thing, is insurmountable. Their humanity, their undoing.
Now, all I wanted was someone who was AFK to come back to the computer in front of my iconic conjoined dead suns. And I have hoped that once these desync issues have been patched, this will be possible. Alas, this is just another case of me being way ahead of my time. I'm a visionary, you see. I hope to have many more suns deceased and prepared for many more guests in the future. A huge thank you to the patrons. Without you, my iconic dead conjoined suns would have starved in life, but instead they were well fed up until I landed my van on them. So for that, you have my thanks. Like, comment, and survive. You have been warned. There's a little green man right behind you. Oh.